Welcome to Self-Perfected.
D-God.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
D-God.
D-God.
You might be the first ever D-God in the world.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah.
What is it?
D-God?
D-God.
Did you say D God?
I'm D-God.
How the fuck did you come up with that much?
Dick God.
Like,
I'm a genius.
how do you come up with these ideas? It's like crazy. I'm like,
Well, I work with this company that creates financial freedom through education.
Oh, shit.
are we gonna go live too?
I thought we were live, actually.
Oh,
I
I don't
hit the
think so.
live button. Hang on. Let me hit it again.
Come on, D-God.
Thinking is
Sorry,
live.
sorry.
D-God.
There we go. You know what it was? I hit the live button and it immediately said we're recording. And I was like, oh, we're live. So
There, we're live.
now we're
Now
live.
we're live for sure.
Hey everybody, we are alive. We're live. We're living.
We're alive.
We're alert.
We are
you
living.
saying it live, Drake?
Things have changed.
Am I sure? Ooh,
It says it's live.
it says it's live. Maybe I went
don't
live.
know.
Maybe
I
Drake
don't
got
know
banned
where
from the
though.
Facebook group for trolling too much.
Hey, actually,
why he can't
hang
post.
on, hang on. Wait, I gotta stop the live. I went
What?
live publicly accidentally. Hold on.
The public ain't ready for this.
Hang on. Try again. That was good.
Oh, dude,
Here we go.
we're live streaming on my home feed. Not even self-perfected. This is awesome.
Not even censored.
That
was,
uncensored.
that was like a
Everyone
little
gets
sneak
it.
Trying to get us shut
Because the
down.
podcast doesn't get posted on YouTube, you know?
I mean, it doesn't go to my whole Facebook feed all the time, but it should. It really should. All right, now we're live in the group.
All
Well.
right. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Nice.
Well.
We're here. Mitch was just sharing with us his creative genius. So what
Well,
else?
here's you know what I'm curious
we
now?
were having a whole discussion before the podcast.
You know what I'm
and
curious
we're
now is like what part is gonna get posted on YouTube though?
All
'Cause
of
we're
it.
recording since
all of it. Yeah.
Good.
The part where we talk about how we're trying to go live and we can't go live.
yeah, exactly. That's my favorite part.
That's the struggle of humanity.
That's my
Humanity's
brother
trying to
asked
go
once.
live and they can't go live because they're stuck in their minds,
Ooh.
Got
Mm.
him.
trying to
Wow.
please the public. Mm.
Got
Damn.
him.
Dang.
I'll start with this. How about this? I'll start with this. Did you guys hear about this point with this new bivalent booster that was approved?
What did you call it?
Bivalent
For-
booster.
Bivalent booster
Is it for
for COVID.
Is it part
No,
of the
that's
LGBT?
creative genius coming up with those.
It was approved for 12 or 12 and above, and they didn't even do any human trial. They just tested it on 8 mice. So
And those mice, I mean,
Whoa.
we assume they turned out.
I was watching this
okay.
video. The guy goes, and of course, obviously it was approved. So the mice, were very satisfied with the booster. They gave it 5-star ratings.
Yo, like, I don't know if the average
it's like-
person can fathom the significance of this.
No, it's like the opposite, right? Asif, remember with our 5-star or with our 1-star thing? It's like I took the booster, got arrhythmia and myocarditis, also got extremely sick, passed out at work. Also, I got COVID, 5 stars.
Very safe.
At
very
least I
effective.
didn't get sicker.
on the flip side, I didn't get the booster. I went the anti-vax route. I'm happy. I'm healthy. Everything's
Never got
going
sick.
great. My heart's great. 1 star.
1 star.
Yeah,
1 star.
that's fucked. And like,
because when I went to get the booster, the doctor was really rude to me. So 1
Yeah.
star.
And I didn't
1
deserve
star.
that.
Yeah.
And he said it was because I rejected.
But I
the-
really think everybody should do what I did, but 1 star. So I'm gonna ensure that no one ever does.
That's honestly the reviews that I saw. Like I was looking at reviews for this tape on Amazon, and one of the
Tape?
reviews, it was
Like-
tape.
tape like a
Tape. Like tape.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like a cassette.
It was
tape.
like the tape was perfect. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. It was the right consistency, right thickness, like right stickiness, all of that is like the tape was perfect. But I rated it 1 star because I couldn't find the beginning of the tape. I was like, what?
It's either
That's your
some
incompetence.
funny
That
troll
sounds
or
like
like
someone trolling, but
Yeah.
but that
Or
is
like
basically
people
what
just
do
have
on
no
these
fucking life.
restaurants. But that's what they
Yeah.
do in the restaurant reviews, man. Like they give us a great review, and then they're like 1 star, and you're like, what the fuck? Or they'll give it like 3, and you're like, you said it was perfect. You said it was everything you wanted, and you still giving it 3. Like, what is a 5 to this person?
Right.
It's so interesting because like it's kind of this inevitable force now in society of like ratings and stuff. Like think it like for example, I do Airbnb, or Uber. Oh man. I'll be the guy that's like, okay, I'll get the Uber. And then you end up like I was at the recent Gin event in Chicago and I was like, okay, I'm getting an Uber. And then I saw one guy, I was like, oh hey, I'm getting an Uber. You can just come in mine. He's like, okay, great. And then like right when the Uber shows up, he's like, oh yeah, there's these like 4 people that are gonna come with too. I'm like, okay. And then they're like delaying and all this stuff. And by the time we get there, I literally watched the Uber driver on the thing and it like prompts the driver, I guess it says like, would you drive them again? And he clicks no. I'm
You're like,
oh,
by
shit.
the way,
was-
this was not my idea. I am a separate person from these people.
I tried, but but it's
Yeah.
like now that forever on my record, right? It's almost like a social credit system. Better not
yeah.
fucking
But
implement that shit.
I remember like the few times I used Uber when I lived in Houston, like my car broke down, so I had to get to a meeting. I just took an Uber, and it was like, so I really used it rarely, and I was like focused on something. I think I was on a call or something because I was like running late, so I was on the call, and it was like what's like the higher end one,
Uber
it's
like
like
Black
luxury, Uber
Oh.
Black.
yeah, like whatever. Yeah, it was like one
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
higher end ones, and so like the
They're on that BLM shit
The guy
before
opens the
before
door
it was
for
hot.
you.
but my point was it was like a nice one, right? And like and then like the guy rated me like 4 stars or whatever, and I'm like, what? Like, because I was like,
Because you didn't talk to him.
but I got a nice one on purpose. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? I don't want to talk to you. I mean, normally I would, but it was like I was on a call or whatever. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, well that's interesting because like what people don't realize is that system right there of those reviews, that's what's coming for every single person unless you step the fuck up.
Oh,
That Black
dude.
Mirror episode.
So okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've
it's
got-
literally in China and it's been there for the past
Mitch
5
has
years.
never seen Black Mirror.
I don't waste my
He
time.
still
Like,
I'm
has
too
not
busy
seen Black
working.
Mirror. What was that? You haven't seen Black Mirror?
I just have the worst like Yelp reviews on my name. If Yelp even
This guy's
can rate me.
never seen an episode of Black Mirror. 3 stars.
Mitch is just living real life. That's why. He's
Exactly.
like, I'm in a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. Apparently, from what this shit sounds like 1, I don't want to fucking look at that. 2, fuck. Apparently, this is what the world is turning into.
I've got an app on my phone that's basically like this. And it kind of reminded me of like what you shared in the group chat, Cam, of like what's going on in Colorado and California with they can't control their thermostats anymore.
Oh
got it.
yeah, that shit was crazy.
I got an app from my insurance to like lower my insurance rating, or not rating, but the price. Yeah, the rate.
4 stars.
4 stars. And like it monitors how I drive, but it monitors like all this extraneous shit that's like even outside of
Like your heartbeat, whether you're
Like
how many
vaccinated or
times you
not.
cough.
Like it'll recognize when I get in a car, but I'm not driving.
Your car's
It'll be
like, what are your political views?
Essentially,
It's like showing you images of like George Floyd's face, and they're like testing your heart rate and your arousal level, all that.
it tells me it doesn't like the times when I get in a car. It's like no, there's too many people on the roads that you're on, and so because of that, it like lowers my score or whatever. Or like
What?
yeah.
Why did you get this thing, Drake?
Because I was like, oh, they offered it like, oh, it'll save you some money, right? And I
Dude,
was like,
this
yeah, sure, why
has
not?
been around forever. It usually like the context that it's sold on is like it measures like how hard you brake and like
Right,
how
right,
much you
right.
accelerate and things like that. And
They
then
do
it
that
lowers-
too.
I'm not getting that
They do that
fucking
too.
thing.
But also they also measure like how fast you go around corners, and
Mm.
like it said uncontrolled cornering, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I would
So-
get that on my phone only if I wanted to spend more money. Because I am not getting a fucking low rating.
Exactly. That's what I figured out. Because
It's like
I
communism
realized-
through capitalism. They're like, we're not even gonna enforce all this shit. We're just gonna like tell you you'll have to pay less money, and then
So-
everyone's
so
like, oh, whoa.
I've been going around corners. I slow down so dramatically, so drastically. That's just like
a Uganda car accident.
people behind me are like, but anyway, it doesn't change anyway. So I just said, fuck it. You know,
It said uncontrolled corner again.
Yeah, it did. It
Wow.
doesn't change at all.
never
So I
went
looked it
away.
up. I looked it up online, and like apparently everyone has the same complaint. Like it's like it says uncontrolled cornering. I go so slow around corners. It doesn't make any sense. I have no idea how to fix this. Fuck this.
Because they just want to collect data on you, but they don't want to give you less money, or they want to take the same amount of money. So they're
Exactly.
just gonna say whatever they're gonna say.
Exactly. So and that's really what I learned. So I said, fuck it. I'm done with this app. But it was really interesting because around the same time you sent that YouTube
But your
video.
thermostat was like, oh, you deleted an app about your insurance, lowering your rating, raising your energy costs.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Okay.
Because
did you
did you guys see what's going on in Colorado?
Well, yeah, I want to make sure you didn't skip that part because it's
Yeah.
like I just looked up what the actual number was. 22,000 smart thermostats in Colorado locked over energy emergency.
Right. And so
Imagine that shit.
they couldn't lower their temperature inside their home lower than 80, which is hot as fuck.
Yeah.
You can't lower.
Now imagine in the winter. Well, not you Florida people, but up here, like imagine you
fucked.
couldn't raise it, right?
Yeah. That's insane.
Dude, all I would
That
do,
shit's
man,
coming for people.
all I
This is
would
why
do,
we have to wake the
because
fuck up.
in a this is not the solution, but for anybody who's listening to this who's going through that in California, all you do is your thermostat or wherever the sensor for the temperature for the thermostat is, heat that shit up because then it'll be 90, but in your house it'll actually be like 82, and then just turn it down.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
I like it. Now
But-
that you've put that out on
let's solve
the
the
internet, you put that out, they're cracking down even harder. It's like,
See, isn't that funny though? That's what people will do. Okay, like on a bigger level, right?
They'll
It's like-
find the hacks. And
right, and we're like aware for the people who have listened to at least one of these episodes. It's like you become blatantly aware that the system is fucking collapsing. There is an agenda 2030. Google it. Right, World Economic Forum, fucking China, all this stuff, where they're looking at how do we monitor every single person and how do we automate surveillance and control. And it's happening. Like you can't fucking hide from it. And
It's
if
like,
you
wouldn't you do that if you were the elite and you didn't give a fuck and you were just like, these are my slaves? Like, wouldn't you do that?
right,
It's
and
so
think about
obvious.
it.
People,
Like-
to think that they wouldn't, it would be like retarded.
Right, because Bill Gates is probably sitting there in his fucking mansion, and he's going, "Well, if I don't do it, someone else is gonna fucking do it, and I'm not gonna be a slave." So it's like this like weird game theory
Good
type
point.
thing. But the point is then like some people will try and come in. They'll go, "Okay, well, I realize that this is happening. I realize that the root of this is a lack of education because the average person is stupid and can't process information. Well, what I'm just gonna do is like hang out in the metaverse. I'm just gonna like fuck around and wait." And it's like the same thing where if like your thermostat, right? Because that's symbolic of the system's collapsing. And then you're like, oh, well, let me just put a Band-Aid on it. All right. It's like, it,
Did you see that thing with Joe Rogan went
Insane.
on Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how they were spending so much
How
time
long ago? How long ago?
it's like a week
recently,
ago.
like
Recently.
yeah, within a week or so, yeah. And he was like saying, yeah, which kind of blows my mind that he would even
crazy,
go on
yeah.
there, but yeah,
Oh,
like-
there was like,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
creates this illusion that they're like, oh, we have nothing to hide. We can just
It's so
talk, you know.
true. Yeah.
But plus Zuckerberg's probably like, well, if I say anything on this podcast that I don't want, I will just ban Spotify from Facebook. Okay. But he was saying how they spending all this effort to perfect the, like when you're in the metaverse, like facial expressions and so forth, because that's so much a part of it's a huge part of communication is like
yeah.
facial expression and so nonverbal, right? And then somebody was pointing out, I think it was Temple, was like, I mean, they're fucking admitting how important they know that is, and yet they got children to wear masks and shit for all these years. And of course, now we're seeing there's like higher rates of autism, higher rates of speech delay. I mean, like massive. It's not even like a tiny thing; it's like a massive point. And yet they know. So that, but they're like, yeah, we're just gonna make it so that you have to wear masks, but then we'll make it so that the way you get your facial expressions is in the metaverse.
Hmm.
It's totally fucked.
It's literally going to be people in real life who are masked with fucking goggles on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
The
should have
mask
a
is
full
like
mask.
measuring your like lip movement and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. It's going to be a
Oh.
full mask.
Okay. There's
Yeah.
got to be a word for this because my guess is Zuckerberg is thinking the same thing that Bill Gates would be thinking. If we don't create this technology and make it hyper realistic where people want to hang out in here all day, someone else is going to do it. It's got to be like a word for that phenomena. It's like a paranoia, like it's like a action by paranoia. That's fucked. It's like an acronym.
I was just looking it up. I can't find for 2022, but 2020 Zuckerberg was at Davos.
Oh,
Oh.
of course. They're one of
You know
the
what I
big
mean? It's like
sponsors.
Bill Gates. They're all there. They're all hanging out. They're
surprising.
all discussing all this. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, but
That's
yeah,
like-
it's zero. Isn't it called like zero sum?
Game.
Zero
Yeah.
sum theory. Yeah.
Zero sum game.
Yeah.
Yeah. game
That's interesting. Like, because there was a summit in like 2020 or 2021 that was like a technology summit where all the
the
big tech
the
companies
Sun
got
Valley
together.
one.
That one exactly, and that was just before metaverse or whatever was made public. Like there was a big public push for it, and it's interesting that thing that you were saying, Mitch, about how like there is an agenda and like things are getting censored. Don't fool yourself. Look at what just happened on YouTube. When was that? Like just recently, basically. They released some of the bans that they had on speaking out about the vaccine or specific like COVID information by the CDC and FDA. I guess they were mostly following the CDC, right? But like
They let go of some control.
they just
They
released
loosened. Wow.
they loosened their restrictions on some of what they were not allowing, that they would immediately ban you for or give you a strike for or whatever, right? And so it's interesting because they are controlling already everything that you're saying and doing and how you can like express yourself. And now look at what they're doing with this vaccine that Cam was just bringing up, the bivalent vaccine. Cam, you had expressed to me, you told me why it was important earlier. I don't think you said it on when we went live about like what's going on. I can't hear the rooster, Mitch.
No, Mitch, we can't hear your rooster going.
Can't hear
It's
your
loud as
cock.
fuck.
Just real quick, what were you doing in 2009?
I was
High school.
in my last or second to last year of high school.
Like doing nothing, right?
12th grade.
Like
I was a junior.
2009 was when I went to the Destiny Farm.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay,
Just
flex.
for context.
All right, just flex
No,
on them.
no.
All right.
No, but
Went
just
to
for just talking
Australia.
about what I was doing. Right. You know what Zuckerberg was doing?
Starting Facebook or no wait.
He was
actually,
he was at Davos.
he was at Davos. Okay.
Ooh, wow,
Facebook
that's some
started like a couple
perspective
years
right
I was
there.
just it just showed up on my thing because I was looking.
That's
to see
some perspective. Damn. Talk about depth of vision and talk about putting in the work. Right.
And he was like, and you look at the picture of him, and he looks like he's still like a college kid. And he's talking about
Looking
there's
extra-
like a session they did on
extra
the next
cold-blooded.
digital experience.
Okay, so
Yeah.
put that together with the dead internet theory, where they're saying that Facebook worked with DARPA essentially to monitor how everybody. Oh fuck! This is like full circle here, right? Like how everybody was being monitored. They wanted to be able to predict what people were going to do and also know exactly what they were doing, right? And then they scrapped that program. And then a year later, Facebook came out. And the theory is that obviously they're working together, right? And some executives left from DARPA to work at Facebook. Interesting, right?
What does DARPA stand for?
Okay, DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's like a huge piece of the government behind.
Remember on Friday when
So
Mitch
much.
was saying he could read your mind and he could see into the future? That was just proof right there. As it came out of your mouth, he already had the answer.
I already took the microchip. The one that's going to become public, in like probably a year. That one.
Hey, by the way,
Like
this
it.
morning, both my
You got
kids,
the
I woke
beta.
up. I woke up this morning. Both my kids were in my bed, right? One on either side of me.
You have 3
And
kids, by
as
the
soon
way.
as I woke up, well, I know, but the other one was in the little one's not. They woke up.
Finish that
Max
sentence.
sits up.
The little one's
Max
not.
sits up. He's old enough to be in the bed. He's still sleeping with Katie.
Where
but,
on the floor?
No, a different bed.
Gotcha. Now we got the whole
he's got an
context. Okay.
Airbnb.
In your house.
Baby and baby. Yeah, he's renting a room in our house. No, but I just thought about this. Like they woke up, so I woke up and that stirred them. So they woke up. Max sits up and he goes, he said, what did he say? He said, I'm Sirius 5, which is like a planet near the Sirius star. And then Seneca gets up and she goes, I'm Giscard. I can read minds. And then she starts doing somersaults all over the bed. And then Max started doing somersaults. And they're like doing somersaults, bumping into each other.
Then did you do somersaults?
No, I didn't. But it was pretty funny. Just the part, some of it's about reading minds. So let me think of that. Because we're reading the robot series from Asimov, and like one of the robots can read minds. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
but like any of you were gonna read all 1,000 fucking pages.
Okay, that whole DARPA thing, like, if you, what's that video? It's just called Dead Internet Theory. I don't know. Do we remember what it looks like?
What is the theory? Is that eventually it'll all just be bots and
it's that like over 50% of the internet is just like garbage written by bots. You know how you get those like stupid articles that are like, what's your astrology sign? Or like, this new moon is going to be bigger and better than ever.
And from my experience, I would say it's a combination of that plus well, I guess bots doesn't necessarily have to be a computer. It could be a person who's just putting information out there.
I guess,
but there's
true.
You go on Reddit, you really see it. It's like super just like group mind specifically from the mainstream. It's like a mainstream group mind. There's no like, if you talk about vaccines, and this has been going on for a long time, like even back in like, I don't even know, like I remember
I would say 2010,
something like that. Like I remember like they were like very like anti-vax, like even then.
And especially during the whole 2016 election, what was that page called? The Trump, was that what it was?
The Donald,
yeah.
And it was like the fastest growing subreddit, and then they just took it all down.
They tanked it.
And it was the only place you could go to see anything not negative about Trump. So it was crazy. Like it was everything else was so heavily biased, like mainstream.
What's interesting is like, so like, bot does not have to be just like a computer program. It could be one person. And like, it was very often that it would be
they're just acting in accordance with some like program that they're supposed to do. Not
exactly.
It's not coming from them per se.
And so it was very often that it would be just like one person operating 10 accounts from, and they would say like different names or whatever. And it seems like you've got a consensus here of all these people agree. It's really interesting because when I first got TechnoTutor, that's when I started to take a look at like really seriously how you'll read something on the internet and just assume this person's an expert. Like you have no questioning of like this person's qualifications or anything like that. And yet when somebody asks you, if somebody random on the internet asks you for your qualifications, you're like, oh shit, like they know everything about me. But like you read everything on the internet as if it's somebody who's just like, yeah, this person knows, and look at how many people agree with them. And like you don't actually know the context behind like all these people work in the same office side by side right next to each other, and they're just like making it look like this is the theory or this is the thought that everyone's going along with, and you're stupid for not agreeing with them.
That's funny.
Yeah. And so that's essentially like the dead internet theory, is that over 50% of the internet is run by bots. Over 50% of the traffic even is not like real. So like, and this happens a lot for companies when they're doing advertising and they do like pay-per-click. They have to be very careful because if you're doing a pay-per-click, but you have a bot that just will go to your website and click on things and open things up, it's like you're spending money just to spend money. And companies and people will take advantage of that just to drain a company's resources. So that it's like, oh, you wanted to do this pay-per-click thing, you're this giant corporation or whatever, we're going to drain your resources so that you have to end up spending a lot more money. And so there's like competitive reasons for why that happens, but then there's also really influential reasons like that persuade just the general public, and it's the same thing that you would see like if you were watching Matter of fact, oh man, David Ogilvy. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, but like this guy was known as the godfather of modern marketing. And the movie, or not the movie, the TV show Mad Men was based off of this guy and his firm, right?
Was he Dick Dollars?
Dick Dollars. Is
That's a deep cut reference on Mad Men.
Okay. I've never watched Mad Men, but that's hilarious that there's somebody named Dick Dollars.
Is it good?
It's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, I don't really watch shows anymore, but yeah, it's good.
Last show I watched that was good. Designated Survivor. That one was sick. I mean,
Yeah,
it's still
that's good.
fucked, but I was like,
Man,
oh.
I feel like there's somebody we
I
know
look at
who was like in that show. I can't remember.
We
Oh,
know
yeah.
we know some like really
No,
cool
yeah.
people, you know.
Some kind of like actor.
Yeah,
Follower?
yeah.
Was
See
it
God?
Who is it?
See God? Do you know?
Drake? Was it Drake? No.
Drake, like the
It'll come to me.
This
It'll
Drake,
come to
the
me.
famous Drake, right?
Yeah, no, it'll come to me.
Hang on, I'll use my psychic microchip power.
But
Loading.
Why'd you bring up David
Rating too
Ogilvy?
low.
I was bringing up
AKA
David,
Dick Dollars.
I was bringing up big old Dick because
Why'd you
something.
say it like that?
Because by the way, Don Draper was the main character in Mad Men. You know.
yeah.
So Dick Dollars was his alter ego when he went to like some bar. Just for closure on that point.
Gotcha. Thank you for helping me out with that.
Good for him.
But what he said, so basically he started changing the way that marketing is done and making it more personal or personable to people. And it was really interesting because one of the big points that he pointed out was that the average person cannot distinguish between a journalistic article that was just written for writing's sake or whatever, and an advertisement that's written in the same kind of format or same style. Even if you put on there that it's an advertisement, they still don't realize that this whole story that you're telling is an advertisement, right?
It'll still have the same effect.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the point of that
but that's the fucking news.
That's it, right? That's exactly the point that I'm making.
People act like the news is like, there was like, oh, the media, da, da, da. It's like, that'd be like complaining about a commercial you saw. You're
right.
Literally complaining that, well, but this commercial, it's like, why are you expecting the media to be like informing you with the truth? It's just there to manipulate you to buy something. It's the point of it.
That's exactly it. And so that's what the whole internet has become. It's just a very long form commercial that you readily tune into and engage with. You know, you check in with the internet to like, what do I buy next? Tell me, internet. But you don't even realize that's what you're doing, you know? Kim, did you end up saying
it up real quick?
Yeah.
I was just looking it up real quick. I can't find a quick answer, but I had heard from something I was watching recently, like 90% of the TV ads was pharmaceutical backed.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
funded by pharmaceutical companies.
Wait, say that again.
Like
90% of
TV
the ads on TV are pharmaceutical,
Wow. Yeah.
which is insane. So that's the purpose of TV. If you think about it, the purpose of TV is to sell you drugs.
We don't
Yeah,
get
so
that
we're
in
talking
Canada.
about-
You were talking about the bivalent vaccine.
So we don't get that in Canada. I'm pretty sure it's banned. Like you're not allowed to.
Well,
do
yeah,
that.
they just make you take it.
Right.
Like,
They don't have to sell.
In Canada, they don't have to say, here you go, take this. But
That's fucked.
it's
That's
mandatory.
actually
Well, it's free, right? Like that's how they get people. That's
See,
the
within the-
marketing. It's
right.
free.
They don't need to advertise. Why do they need to fucking advertise? You got to go and you got to wait 10 years to get an appointment anyways.
Yeah, but because we do get a lot of American broadcasting, you still get to see the commercials, but I don't think any Canadian news broadcasting or just broadcasting in general.
Oh, yeah, but it's
have
all funded by
ads.
the government anyways.
Right.
Wow.
So like if it was on Fox News, you would see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. But you just can't see it on CBN or some shit.
Exactly.
Is that a thing?
CBS, like all that stuff. Yeah, CBS.
CBS is Canadian.
24.
Oh, because we have CBS too, but it's not.
Yeah, we have a CBS.
We have Canadian broadcasting station.
What does our
That's
CBS
it.
stand for? I'll look it up.
Cadillac bread making station.
That's it.
I find it funny that CBS is like, if you actually look at what it's saying, it's C bullshit. Isn't that funny?
CBS.
Yeah.
Columbia Broadcasting Station, but
Maybe
Columbia
it's
spelled
CBC.
like for
I don't know,
America.
Asif. Is that what it is? CBC.
CBC.
There's a
yeah.
CBC,
Canadian
like the
Broadcasting.
BBC, but it's the CBC.
Have you guys seen that clip of Operation Mockingbird, where they show how the CIA has been? I mean, they've been involved in the news from a long time ago, back like Vietnam War, before that. But someone put together this clip, and they all say this exact same line.
Yeah.
Say that this poses a threat to our democracy.
Yeah. This is a threat to our democracy. This
right,
is a threat to our
right. And
democracy.
it's funny because Biden just used that same thing. He talked about Trump posing it, in MAGA.
The MAGA Republicans.
Yeah,
Pose a threat to our democracy.
Yeah, threat to the and so it's like that's the program. It's the impulse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's interesting they use Operation Mockingbird because it's kind of like in Hunger Games where they do that whistle and then like there's all the birds whistling.
I've never seen it.
What's the symbol of a mockingbird?
It's
To
like
kill a mockingbird.
Oh, I don't know in that
It mocks
context,
people.
but I don't know. I don't know why they call it a mockingbird.
Mhm.
To kill a mockingbird,
they're
mockingbird from
mocking
the
us.
Hunger Games.
Seriously.
It imitates the calls of others.
There you go. There you go. See? So, because the news broadcasting system is just imitating the call of whatever the White House wants.
No, it's the AI. It's like it can't ever actually be alive. It's imitating human beings.
Interesting.
That internet theory, they're not real. They're bots.
So here's
There you go.
another.
Mockingbirds, mocking bots. Come on, guys. You can't
Wow,
put this
genius.
together.
Hey, and think about this. So I just looked up like what's the symbolism of a mockingbird, and someone's analysis of that book To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
They say how it's
It's not
a-
tequila mockingbird.
Tequila mockingbird.
sounds like
This whole
That's the new
time.
Mexican
Tequila Mockingbird and Dick Dollars. It sounds like a band. Okay.
or alcohol.
It sounds like some
Big
drinks that you
dollars of the
order.
tequila mockingbirds.
Yeah, let me get like 2
Rum
tequila
and
mockingbirds
tequila.
and some big dollars.
Okay. Think about this though. Think about maybe this was written. Okay, hang on. This one seems to be written by a real person. This other one I'll share in a moment though seems to be written by one of those dead internet bots.
Literally
Okay.
written by the CIA.
This is okay. Symbolism of Mockingbird. Atticus and Miss Maudie tell Scott and Jem, this characters from the book, that it's a sin to kill a mockingbird because these birds cause no harm to anyone or anything. They just sing. In so doing, they make the world a better place. So it's like taking something that's innocent and killing it is bad, right?
Oh shit. That's like Project Mockingbird. It's like they're taking like these stars and then they're corrupting them into like
Yeah.
manipulating everybody.
Isn't that
Because
crazy?
it's like, think about what the stars do. It's like they'll entertain you. They sound really nice and pretty. Number one, they're just entertaining you, so you're distracted. But then also they'll say shit that's like, remember when Hillary Clinton was running for president and she literally was at a Beyonce and Jay-Z concert?
Yeah.
And like they had her on stage, and I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
Cringe.
Was she dancing too?
It's
Probably.
funny because also she got called out like at one of her I don't know, whenever you go to rich people's houses and like try to campaign there. I don't know what that's called specifically, but she got called out because
Like a fundraiser.
it was like a fundraiser, but like I don't know, there were some black people there and they called her out for being a part of
They were there working like the wait staff. Is that what you're saying?
Forced to wear masks.
that's what black people did. but they were basically calling her out for if you remember in the 1980s, the crack laws, and like being a part of the Biden laws that he was so proud of, right? And how that set black people back. And then like just to make up for it, she's like, well, I went on stage with Beyonce and Jay-Z, so you gotta like me now, right? Like that is how our politics work. Okay, on this subject, did you see like 2 days ago Biden's speech about what Mitch was saying, like the MAGA Republicans and like
I didn't actually watch the
threat to
speech
our
yet.
democracy.
Oh, that's
Dude.
recent. Damn.
It's really recent, and like it's interesting because he continues on with like the horrors at Charlottesville and all this stuff, right? And it was so interesting to watch it because Christina and I, like, first off, the background that they used, they used this
Very
lighting.
ominous.
Can you please find a picture of this?
Yeah, Christine, can you find a picture?
I saw a picture of it where he's like this.
Can you
The
pull it up,
background
Jamie?
is like the
Well,
whole.
I'm gonna send you the clip, like the video.
It's like these red lights.
Yeah. And like it's like it looks evil. It looks like when Kane from like wrestling, like WWE, like Kane would come out, the guy with the fucking mask who like is apparently from the underworld or whatever, like the brother of the Undertaker, when he would come out and he'd be like, like everything would go red and you'd be like, oh fuck, it's a demon is here. That's what it looked like when Biden was giving this speech, and it was just like, dude, insane.
That's so
And they
funny.
had 2 guards. Oops, thanks to Drake.
When you know that they got it down to a science, the specific colors, the way they promote, the way they put everything, because it's like, oh, they just threw something up real quick last minute and they just put the camera on it. Like it wasn't fucking planned out, like exactly what it's gonna look like. And
Right.
I mean,
I remember
then
those.
we noticed. Sorry to cut you off. Mitch.
Yeah.
We noticed because we were looking through the comments because we saw it on Fox on YouTube, and we were looking through the comments, and all the comments, of course, were just like this is fucking ridiculous. Like I can't believe that he's saying this stuff, and like he's just tearing the country apart, and like all this stuff, right, against what Biden was saying, right? And Christine was like, look, nobody's actually going along with this. And so then I was like, well, let's see what they're saying on CNN. So we clicked on a CNN YouTube, and on CNN, it was basically saying the same things.
That's what people were comparing it to.
Yeah,
as
put in the chat. And V for Vendetta, when the chancellor is giving his speech and he's got his arms up, like there's
funny.
literally a side by side with Biden doing the same exact thing, right? But on CNN, we noticed at like the 17 mark or somewhere around there, they changed the lighting to pink. The background was pink.
Oh,
But if you went back on Fox around the same minute mark, the background didn't change. It was so interesting because on CNN, it started becoming like this hot pink color. And then on Fox, it remained this like deep, dark red.
do you know how what they were saying changed? Like if what he's saying, because pink typically is the color of conversion, of like, it's like the color of persuasion, of like, you want to listen to me kind of thing.
Well, that's interesting. But it only happened on one channel. Is the distinction.
Was it the
I'm
one
making.
that was like supportive of the
it
Democratic?
was CNN.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it. Wait, who was it? But yeah.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. Isn't
Yeah.
that so funny that red is usually the Republican color, but they chose red? Like, oh fuck, they actually got something going on there. That's good.
Wow.
Don't know. It is super interesting. I would say the point of conversion of what was actually changing in his rhetoric was he went from being like, the first half of his speech was like, we have to work together. We have to not let anything divide us and all this stuff. And then the second half of his speech was just trashing like
interesting.
the MAGA Republicans and how like that is what's dividing this country. And this is a hard speech to give, but we have to eliminate those people essentially.
Jesus Christ.
and then he is making rules or proposing rules essentially that were to not allow anyone to question the elections and things like that. We can never allow that ever again. And it was
Wonder
just like,
why.
yeah,
But it's if you can't fucking see like, oh, but that makes sense. And it's like, but the same people saying that were for 4 years when Trump was president, like saying he was a Russian asset, the election was
Exactly.
stolen. There was like the whole, like that's all you fucking heard all day long on the news for 4 fucking years until they came out with an official investigation and said, oh yeah, no, actually none of that actually happened.
right.
And then
right.
they keep saying it.
Right. And so it's really interesting because I'm like asking like, why the fuck is he bringing this shit up now? Like it's 2022. Like he's not up for election right now. Why the fuck is he bringing this up now? It's because we have the midterm elections, and then he's just basically riling up support for, I don't know, all the Democrats that they want to get into.
Funny though, because so many people were literally like, well, this has given all the votes to the conservative, like both on CNN and Fox News. Like people are so done, because everything it was also saying was just plain lies. It was like, oh, the American people are thriving right now. We have come through the COVID pandemic and people are,
it's not a recession. That's not what a recession is.
Building businesses and getting jobs, and the American economy is the strongest it's ever been, which I'm sure the dollar is, but it's like the actual people are suffering. And he's like, we don't want to promote or influence war anywhere or violent crimes. And he was talking about like in the US, but I was like, oh, but everywhere else we can.
Right. He said there should not be any violent like demonstrations in the US. No violent demonstrations in the US of any kind whatsoever. And I'm like, do you fucking forget all of 2020 when it was just BLM burning shit down, like literally burning down police precincts?
First of all, Biden did literally forget, but second of all, but you see like the cognitive dissonance of people being like, but then they'll immediately go, oh yeah, but that was justified.
Exactly.
Like, okay, so it's justified or it's not justified. And now you're saying it's never justified. So there's no way that someone who's on the other side, so to speak, can be justified in it. But all of it leads to more and more and more control. It's like everything that they're doing, it's all like a performance to get people to accept more regulations, more restrictions on what you say on the internet, what you can post, what you can do, and so forth. You know, like the next time something happens and then they, freeze people's bank accounts because they went to a protest, like they did in Canada, like actually did that stuff, then people will be like, it's softening that point. And it's already been done. So there's a precedent for it. You can, it's, oh, it made sense that time.
We were talking about those restrictions with YouTube, how you're saying that, or someone was saying that stuff now that was like against the CDC is like, ooh, it's freeing up. Everyone's like, oh wow, great, we're less censored. Just in time for then monkeypox or whatever the fuck is gonna come in.
By the way, monkeypox, the WHO has said it's strictly from anal sex. So, if you got monkeypox, I know what you're doing.
Dude,
wow, that's a hate crime towards gay people.
What could be happening? I don't know how far because there's two overarching patterns that I'm not certain of yet. It's either the pattern is to create conflict, or the pattern is to create more control. Oh, no, never mind. So you use the conflict, then generate the control, where things seem like potentially that they're swinging to appeal to potentially, it could be totally wrong, but swimming to appeal to like a Republican point of view, where they'll give more freedom, and then they'll be like, look, it's only gay people that are spreading this evil shit, monkey pox, like the rhetoric will start becoming around there because because right now a Democratic president is in office. So
when was the last time you heard about monkeypox?
Was it
a week ago?
Really? Like they're pushing it?
No, the last time
trying
to about it, we were.
They really chose the wrong disease, though.
I think that's the point. Is like they were like, okay,
yeah, we were getting some coffee, and then like on the news we saw monkeypox is
if you watch the news,
related to sexual contact.
Monkeypox has been linked to serious heart inflammation in a 31-year-old man.
Okay.
Wonder if he was vaxxed.
I'm so glad I'm not a 31-year-old man.
I'm only 29.
But remember we were talking about that vaccine thing, right? The bivalent, whatever.
Right. Yeah. I was going to ask you.
So the reason we had brought it up earlier was because I was watching something about it, and they were making this point that there was the COVID pandemic emergency. So they had emergency use authorization for all the vaccines, right? Which makes it so that they have no liability, the manufacturers, like you can't sue them because they're under emergency use. So that's why they also extended the emergency, so that they could continue to have emergency use. The reason why they're pushing children to get it even though we've all looked at it, we all know it doesn't, like, even according to their official story, the fucking COVID didn't even affect children, like virtually at all. Is because the so if you have a vaccine that's not under emergency use, but it's recommended for children, then you can't be sued. So if it's a vaccine that's recommended for children, even if adults use it, then you can't be sued. So now that they're getting out of the emergency part, as long as they get the children, it's a recommended for children, then they still can be not held liable for it. Which is really
children
fucked.
considered 18 and less or 12 and less?
I don't know what it's considered children in this context, but this bivalent one was. But remember, they just had one that was approved for 5 and unders.
Yeah,
and then they just got one approved for, or was it 5 and over? 5 and over or 5 and over? I'm not sure. But
there's one for infants anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but now they've got this bivalent one. They just got it approved for 12 and over. But that's what they did in the other one. They had it like adults, then younger children, then younger children, then younger, all the way. So it makes it so that they could just continue to produce this product, which they already know is going to hurt people. Like they've already done. So now this time they didn't even do human studies. Why? Because last time they did with the other ones, and then they had to release all that shit. They had to release all the, not the virus, which they did, but I'm just saying they had to release the paperwork that shows it. And everyone, but of course, no one, they're not going to talk about it. So it doesn't really fucking matter. But when you actually look into it, you're like, wait, they did the trials and they actually saw people were dying and getting heart disease and all this shit. Like none of this is news. None of this is surprising at all, just based on their own documents. No wonder they didn't want to release for 75 years.
Right.
So now they're just skipping the adult part. And people are like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's good enough for rats.
So it's really crazy because as you were bringing that up, it reminded me of that
you need to get your booster.
I got to get my 6th booster. Am I on 6? I'm scheduled for 6. I'm scheduled for 6. So I got to get my 6th.
What if you go to a restaurant in the future and you have a baby with you and they're like, oh, would you like a booster? And you're like, yes, please. And they pull out a syringe.
Okay, you're be seated over there.
We're in the 30th wave.
And they just make you sit on the floor.
People like forget that they have a fucking
lay down in a
immune
pod
system.
and put your headphones. You put your like virtual reality.
Dude, it's so fun because people just don't even know, right? Like lack of education, ineffective programming. They don't even know they have an immune system.
Check it out. So they're doing all of this for profit, right? Knowing damn well that this is not helping anyone, right? It's the same thing that we read from Bernard last week in Creation's Journey to Life about how the military industrial complex, like everything is done essentially like for profit. Everything, the conflict that we're having large scale even is only fueling the military industrial complex, which is the only purpose for it really is for profit. And so like you look at what's going on with Taiwan and China right now, and the US is giving, or not giving, but selling $1.1 billion worth of weapons and different military applications to Taiwan. And they're essentially, the way I looked at it was like, oh, the US isn't actually going to get involved with what's going on in Taiwan. Not actually. They're not going to go over there and stop China from, attacking Taiwan, but they will happily and gladly sell all these weapons and jets and shit like that, whatever it is, so that they can make money. And that's what's been going on all around the world, is this big ramping up for a war in order to make a lot of money, because the way that our financial system works, or is basically the way it's laid out, is it's meant to make money and then crash and make money for a few people and not for everybody. And the way that they reset it is just, okay, we use military applications to generate a lot more money. And the way that we do that is we create a lot of conflict with other people. And then we're approved for, hey, we can sell all this shit with your approval that is just going to be used to kill other people or destroy things. That's what our entire economy is based off of. It's just destruction, isn't it?
You can't build back better if nothing's broken. So like we gotta go break some shit first. We gotta go start some shit.
Let's go start some shit. That's good. Sorry, sorry. Also,
Wow.
in the same vein, as previous the vaccine, Christina and I just watched this clip of Alex Jones talking about Trump, and apparently Alex Jones had sent Trump. He basically was looking at all the research for vaccines, and he said, you know, we have a huge problem because this vaccine is actually hurting people. It's killing people. This is not good. And so he wanted to send to Trump a message that was basically, hey, you keep saying, you know, you're proud of producing this vaccine or whatever, but it's actually hurting people. And you need to understand just the severity of this. And apparently Alex Jones got back a message from Trump that said, I don't want to hear anything more about the vaccine. I am proud of it. I did it. I created it. And anyone who has anything else to say can shut up. and that was it. So Alex Jones is just like, I'm not going to talk about Trump anymore. Like, I don't dislike him or anything, but you know, he's made a decision on this and it's not the right decision.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I saw too. It was like the fact that he started promoting all that. You don't know why or what the scenario is behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean, but again, like we said from the beginning, it's not about placing your hope and faith on one person, because that wasn't a solution anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's like going back to what Mitch was saying. The problem is the way people are educated, they don't actually know anything, and they can't actually, more importantly, they can't actually process information. So what they know is very limited. The context is very limited, and then they're not able to put it together. Did you guys see that video I put up of Max from like a couple days ago?
When he's doing the 4th grade math?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Can you describe it?
Absolutely amazing. Okay, so first off, I love the you gave some forward before.
Should we just play it on here?
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Christine,
I'll find it. You can set it up. Just give context.
So basically, here's what I find so amazing about what Max is able to do, what he's capable of. First off, there are a lot of kids who I see today who cannot do basic math. There are a lot of kids today who cannot do basic math, and that's a huge problem. And also, we saw back in 2019, at the end of 2019, we saw that there was this national reading emergency, right? And the national reading emergency was basically this. They said that they have been testing kids since 1980s, early 1990s, and they randomly select students from different schools, all the same age as when they first started this test. When they first started this test, they said there was a huge problem. They said 2/3 of students are not proficient in reading and not proficient in math. And that was a huge problem. They said it's not good. Obviously, something needs to change. And then they've been keeping up with all these markers over the years. And they said, you know, the graph would go up and it would plateau and all this stuff. And then in 2019, they said, we have a huge problem. We are back almost exactly where we first started in reading, especially, but also in math. And said, they were like, this is something that we need to sound the alarm on. Everything that we're doing as far as No Child Left Behind, Common Core, all these like big initiatives that get done in the public education system, we see they're not working, right? And so what's interesting is I've worked firsthand, and I know Cam, you have too, Christina has too, firsthand with a lot of students to see like, oh, you can't do basic shit that you should be able to do, which is just like doing some math in your head, like just, you know, or even writing it out. Even writing it out, the kids get lost, right? And, you know, here, I'll read this part.
There was a thing recent. Well, it's going to read it when you play the video.
I know it is, but I want to read it. And then we can skip you reading it, right?
We can hear it twice because people need to hear it fucking twice.
But the quote is, I wonder if mathematics isn't rather a state of mind which can size up a situation, discard the unimportant, fit disorganized facts into a pattern, and know when a problem is solved. If we approached the teaching of mathematics with this as our axiom, it might be that we could make essential progress. For instance, we would no longer apply the old principles of supplying answers to problems. Part of the scientific mind is the critical ability to know when a problem is solved, rather than being a tool subject. I believe mathematics is an art, the purest form of art, in which the mind is the instrument of expression. This is the art which takes chaos and builds from it a magnificent structure of order and reason. And that's what by H.S. Wall. Okay, I really enjoyed when you read this quote, because the way I've understood mathematics is it's not just being able to say like, oh, 1 + 1 = 2, and 2 × 3 is 6. And it's not just being able to do that, but actually being able to, and I've heard you describe it this way as well, Kim, but like, look at what's going on, look at a room and say, okay, if I want to paint this room and I've got these 4 walls, but I've also got a doorway here and a window here, I need to subtract the doorway and subtract the window, right? And so in order to do that, you have to be able to like look at the whole situation, look at the whole problem and go, okay, yeah, this is what I need to have solved. That's the process of mathematics, being able to reason out, if I'm going to do this, then I have to remove that. And then I have to add this in order to get the full project done, right? And so that's not what kids are being taught. Kids are being taught just, what's this number? 1. Okay, 1 + 1, 2. And like, okay, but what's 1 + 2? I don't know. We haven't learned that yet because they cannot think mathematically.
Well, you're literally not even taught how to think. It's not even a focus. It's
Right.
just, it's like they're just telling you, here's what the thing is, apparently. Here's a problem that we're going to give you. Here's how you solve it. Now make sure that you can copy that pattern.
Right.
There is no even approach to understanding at all.
Right.
It's because, you know, when I got this book, Creative Mathematics, actually a math book. It's not a book about math. It's a math book. I got it from a professor in university who was really cool. We've talked about him before. And he said, you know, if you understand this book, you'll be pretty good at mathematics if you can work through it. And like the first chapter, it's like the numbers. And it's like, we assume the existence of such a thing called a number. And we assume the existence of some of them called counting numbers. And it's like, it starts with literally, what the fuck is a number?
Mm.
And then like chapter 2, you're like talking about calculus. Like seriously, it's like talking about integrals and shit. But
Wow.
the way it does it, it's like they don't tell you any answers. They give you like a theorem to prove, and then like, here you go, here's a couple of theorems, and then they go on to the next thing, and you're like, huh? But that's how this professor ran his course. Huh?
What would you say is like the prerequisite understanding in order to read that book?
Just, you know, the numbers.
Basic
it.
math.
Seriously.
Wow.
You might struggle with it, but that's the whole point. Like, it's having you actually figure out and think. And obviously in the course of a class where the professor already knows and can guide through question stuff, or a person or an adult, whatever. So I showed Max that book, and I said to him, you know, we had this professor, I gave him the context, and I said, he told us that if you understand this, you'll be really good at math. And he was like, oh, and he starts like reading it. Right. So the point is, at some point he'll want to work out the exercises, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But now he's become very interested because he did the multiplication tables in TechnoTutor. So now he's been talking about multiplication a lot. Like he'll randomly be like, Cameron, what's 3 × 12?
Nice.
And I'll be like, what is it? And he goes, well, I know what it is. I want to see if you know. Right. Yeah. So it's pretty cool just from doing the TechnoTutor. So they've been working on that. And then I bought him some like, you know, like little multiplication tables that are laminated where you can like write it in. So he can practice like doing it and having that and think about it and everything. So he's already done the integration with TechnoTutor. Now it's just like playing with this stuff. And that's how he plays.
That's cool.
You know, so, and he's not even 6 years old.
Creative
Mathematics.
That's what the quote was from?
Yeah.
Wow. That's the book that you gave to Max.
Imagine
Right,
someone saying, yeah, you don't need TechnoTutor.
Yeah.
Like how much.
And then this,
to
the person who wrote that book, he created this type of teaching mathematics man, Katie would probably remember it. I can't remember what the name of it was. There was like a name for the approach. Oh, it's called the Moore method. So H.S. Wall didn't create it, but he was a proponent of it. And the professor we had was also a proponent of it. And it was developed at, I think Moore was at University of Texas or something, but it's this approach where you give definitions of things and then you propose questions where you have to either prove or disprove the thing being asked. You have to put together the definitions and think creatively about it to figure out what the implications would be. So the way they would teach the mathematics is in the line with that quote. And that was how our professor taught his course. So like we took multivariable calculus and we only got up to like gradients, which is like for someone doing multivariables, they'd be like, wow, you didn't even get that far. But it's like, but you really understood. He wasn't worried about you getting very far. And he was also slowed down by the fact that most of the students going into it had been trained to just memorize. And so it was the first time they had been asked to think creatively and actually solve the problem themselves. He never told us the answer to a question. He never told you if you were right.
Wow.
He would just have us like, he would have you present your proof to the problem to the class, and then everyone would ask questions until you were satisfied or they were satisfied. Okay, it's done, move on. And the whole point of it, like it says in that quote, is knowing when you've solved the problem. Because if no one's solved the problem before, how do you fucking know when it's solved? And Max is very focused right now on this thing called the Riemann hypothesis. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Right. Which has to do with prime numbers and so forth. And we were talking about the fact that someone thought that they proved it and they presented their proofs, and mathematicians still haven't agreed of whether it's actually been proven or not.
Oh, wow.
So Max is like, I'm going to prove it. And he was like, Cameron, what do you think? He's like, are you on the side of that the zeros of the Riemann function lie on the critical line, or are there some that are not on the critical line? And so like, this is what we're talking about, like laying in bed at night, right? This is what he's thinking about, right?
That's so cool. That's so cool.
All right. You want to share that?
Just think of what the average freaking 5-year-old's thinking about. Like, how can I play Angry Birds?
What are they thinking about? What are they thinking about?
Thinking about Pokemon.
Their iPad.
And they're thinking about fucking Spider-Man and Superman, right? And
Yeah.
then you watch that video that they made, I was telling you guys about before we started recording, where they're telling the kids, like, you know, if you can be like a superhero by getting your vaccine because you're saving your community.
Right.
So they're manipulating that point, right? How are they going to be like, you know, if you can solve the Riemann hypothesis, you should get your vaccine.
Max,
like they're having
Max, you could be you could solve the Riemann hypothesis if you get
if you get your vaccine. Like, how are they going to manipulate you on that, right? Yeah, Katie said the Moore method applies not just to math, right? Definitely. Okay, you want to share it?
Okay.
Hit that shit.
Share it up.
All right, play from.
Just play from when Cam starts talking. Did you share your sound as well?
No.
Yeah, you got to share your sound.
Mm.
Unshare it, stop sharing it, and then share it again, and then share sound.
And then think big and share.
Yeah, think big and share.
Computer audio, I guess.
Yeah, share computer audio. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Cameron, you're muted.
Cam, what do you say? You just go
It
in.
says share sound and then optimize for video clip.
Yeah, optimize for video clip. Do that one as well.
Only
I did
share
look
the
at it.
sound this time. You want
Where
to
does that?
Okay, all right. So here,
Just let me
When
do
you-
it.
yeah,
I'll do it.
let Cam do it. Let Cam do it because he has the capability of sharing. I don't know why he didn't just start doing it.
I didn't think I had it already automatically.
You're equal to see God.
I wonder if mathematics isn't rather a state of mind, which can size up a situation, discard the unimportant, fit disorganized facts into a pattern, and know when a problem is solved. If we approach the teaching of mathematics with this as our axiom, it might be that we could make essential progress. For instance, we would no longer apply the old principles of supplying answers to problems. Part of the scientific mind is the critical ability to know when a problem is solved. Rather than being a tool subject, I believe mathematics is an art, the purest form of art, in which the mind is the instrument of expression. This is the art which takes chaos and builds from it a magnificent structure of order and reason. H.S. Wall, Creative Mathematics.
Hey, this is Cameron. I just want to give you some quick context.
on the clip I'm about to play. Obviously, you heard me read that quote. But in the next clip, you're going to see Katie reading a couple of or 3 word problems to Max. They're from 4th grade math. Now, understand, Max is not even 6 years old. He'll be 6 in 2 months from the recording of this video, and that clip was recorded last night that you're about to see. And in it, you're going to see his reasoning process. You're going to see him making some mistakes, but us not telling him the answer, helping him reason it out just by asking questions. And you're going to see how he comes to conclusions that I think if you can wrap your mind around the fact that he's not even 6 years old, it's probably going to blow your mind a little bit. At the end of the day, I really just want your mind to expand to consider the possibility that with the right tools, specifically TechnoTutor, your child or any child in this world can be supported to become far more effective than they are currently in this world, in school, in what you normally call homeschooling or unschooling or any of these other approaches. None of those even touch or even come close to what we're doing with TechnoTutor. And so I want you to see Max's reasoning ability. And I want you to see he's just a kid. And he's not sitting all day studying math, memorizing stuff. We just do our TechnoTutor. We spend a lot of time playing, a lot of time talking, interacting, having fun, but also within that, as the parents guiding the point. And there's a lot of debate over should you formalize instruction and just teach everything and have them memorize everything, or should it just be fun and freeing and playing? Well, there's a balance, right? With TechnoTutor, you get the structure and you get things integrated so effectively that the child can learn a lot faster than they would normally learn. It requires less instruction, less time spent anyways, in terms of trying to remember and memorize and all that stuff. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot. I just wanted to give a little bit of context. Katie had been reading some articles about children right now struggling with 4th grade math. And we just want to show you, we picked up some random 4th grade word problems, asked Max if we could do a video of him answering the questions, and the rest, you can see it speaks for itself. At the end of the video, if you haven't yet decided to start using TechnoTutor for yourself and or with your children, I highly suggest that you reach out either to myself if you're finding this video randomly, or talk to the person who's showing it to you and ask them, how can you see TechnoTutor? How can you find out how it works? Have a demonstration of it. And then I would highly suggest that you make that decision to start using it sooner rather than later, even if you don't have kids. Start preparing yourself now to be the parent that you would ultimately wish you had been if you didn't otherwise. Okay, enjoy.
Okay.
So like online?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Ashley and her 4 friends went trick-or-treating. You know what that means?
What?
Where they go from door to door and get candy.
Yeah.
On Halloween. Okay. Each of them got 4/5 of a bag of candy. 4/5 each of them. How many bags of treats did they get in total altogether? Let me repeat it. Ashley and her 4 friends. Ashley and her 4 friends. They went trick-or-treating and they each got 4/5 of a bag of candy. So how many bags did they get all together? It's a challenging one.
I want to give me the next.
You could do this one though.
This is the next.
How many people are there? Ashley and her 4 friends.
5 people.
5 people.
Is that a true statement?
Yes, 5 people. They each got 4/5 of a bag. 5 people each got 4/5 of a bag.
Why didn't they just get a whole bag?
What if you had 5?
But the question is, how many total bags are there? If they each got 4/5 of a
Okay,
bag.
my question is, okay.
That's also my
think
question.
Think about it like this. Let's say you had 5 friends and they each got 1/5 of a bag. How many bags would they have total altogether?
1.
Yes. So if 5 friends had 4/5 of a bag, how many bags would they have total?
4.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, now go to next.
Okay, one other one.
That's great.
Okay. Ken drinks 2/7 of a carton of milk every day, each day.
Which,
Two 2/7. 2/7 of a carton of milk every day. How much milk would he drink in 3 days?
ew, 6, 7.
Yes, very nice. That's awesome. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Another one? Okay, let's see. Oh. Let's see. Hold on, let me find another one. Bag of flour to make that dozen cookies. How many bags would I need if I was going to make 10 dozen cookies? So I'll say it again. Each dozen needs 3/4 of a bag. How many would I need? How many bags would I need if I was going to make 10 dozen cookies?
Kind of act it like you need a whole bag to do 1 dozen.
You can, but then you have to look and see, are you overestimating? Because I don't want to pay too much for flour.
Well, you don't want to use too
I
much.
want really close to the exact amount.
But if you use the wrong amount, it won't be the right recipe, right?
But we're estimating number of bags I'll need. So actually your plan is a good way to go to think about it in the beginning. Because 3/4 is very close to 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's off by 1/4.
So why don't I just take off 10/4 after that?
Yes. So do that. So how many bags, if we assumed I need 1 bag per dozen, how many bags would I need?
10.
Uh-huh.
How many fourths is that?
Or you can think about it like this.
Hold on,
10
how many-
fourths- Hold on, wait.
okay.
10/4. How many bags is that?
If you need 10.
But think about 10/4. How many bags is that?
It's that. It's 2 bags and a half.
Yes. Yeah, that's very good.
You need 5.5 bags.
No, you said, how many did you think you need when you estimated?
Oh, you're right. I actually need I need 8.5.
Almost.
9.5.
No, just slow down. How many did you think you need when you estimated?
10.
And how many are you taking away?
10/4.
10/4, what you just said was how many?
2 bags and a half.
Right, so you take that away from 10, what do you have?
8.5.
Is it?
Yes.
What would 8.5 bags plus 2.5 bags be?
There's 2 bags.
10 minus 2 is 8. What's
It'd be like
10 minus
7.5.
2? Yes.
Correct. Very nice.
That's 4th grade math. That's
Doing it
that-
all in his head.
all in his
No
head.
paper, just talking.
That's the one, they just put out this article saying that 4th graders are like doing terrible at math. Like they just.
Here we've got our not even 6-year-old Max just doing techno tutor and talking about math whenever we want to talk about it. And he can already do 4th grade
He's
math
figuring
in
it
his
out, so
head.
It's not memorized.
That's right. And we just did a video of Seneca Copelia, as we call her sometimes, doing math in her head, probably 1st grade math, I'm guessing. What do you think about that, Copelia?
That's good.
That's good.
That's so
I had to
cute.
get the fart noises in.
Different.
Mitch asked,
What's
how old is 4th grade? And usually a 4th grader is like 10 years old on average. And so Max is not even 6 yet, and he's already doing what they're expecting a 10-year-old to do, which 10-year-olds cannot do currently, is what they're saying. And I
They
honestly
can't do it with instruction.
right. They can't
Like
do it.
what you it's hard to capture in that video is we weren't teaching them beforehand how to do it.
Right.
It was
Right.
just live. Like he's like, let's just see if you. She wasn't even asking me to film it. I was just like, well, let me go ahead and record it just in case. Like,
Right,
it's good
right.
to show. So she was just like, let me see if he can answer these fourth grade math questions. He's not been instructed in how to answer them or how to think about them. He just understands fractions. Like with any like when he said 10/4 and he was like, first of all, when he said 10/4, I was like, holy shit. And then when he said that's
Yeah.
2 bags and a half, I was like, holy shit.
And he got that pretty
Like,
quick.
he had-
he got that
one
very
really
fucking quick. Yeah.
the part he got stuck on was just the 2.5 plus 8.5 is not going to be 10, it's 11. But I didn't want
Right.
to tell him that. It was just like, what would that be? And then you could see him go, oh, it would be 7.5, because he could see like, okay, that's 10 plus the 2 halves. Like I could see that's what he was doing in his head, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
so what we wanted to show was like he's literally just, we're asking him, we've never talked about how to solve these kind of problems. It was just randomly, she looked up online fourth grade word problems, and they happen to be about fractions, which most people would have immediately, most adults would have shut down.
Adult, exactly. That's what I wanted to say. Like, because I definitely know adults where I've just given them such a simple fraction, and they'll be like the look on their face is literally just like, you're asking me? I don't know.
Cam,
Hey,
has
check this out.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm guessing Max has integrated the word fraction specifically.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
I figured,
and I saw him a week or two ago. He was I would come home, and there was a few days where he would be, or what'll happen is like we'll go out and we'll put the animals away, and then Katie will go back and she'll put Caius down for bed, and usually stays in there for a while. And every once in a while I'm focused on something, so I'll go back into the barn to finish something up, so the kids will be in the house by themselves for like a few minutes, and I'll come in there, and they'll like have like all the spices and ingredients out of from like the cabinet, and they'll be like pouring stuff in like bowls and everything, right? So anyways, I came home one day just from a meeting, so like during the normal day, Katie was making something, and Max was sitting there at the counter with like all the measuring cups, and he was like pouring stuff and doing some experiment, as he calls it. So I was like, hey, do you want me to get your own measuring cups? So I got him like a set of like from 1 cup, 2 cup, 4 cup, like the big ones,
Yeah.
And then also it has like the smaller, like, cup, half cup, quarter cup, all that, and like the teaspoons and all that stuff. And he just like will carry him around, and he'll like play with them, and he'll be like, how many tablespoons does it take to fill up a fourth of a cup? And so he's like asking me questions, like, so he's like playing with fractions also.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
instead of going and buying Superman toys, it's like he's like, hey, I know you ordered those measuring cups, like when are they coming? Can we go pick them up from the post office? He like wanted me to go and like go there on Saturday or Sunday, and I'm like, it's not gonna be open. He's like, well, can you call the people who work there and just have them go get it for you? I'm like, no, it doesn't work. He was like so interested in getting the measuring cups, and as you can see from the video, he was like snacking on that belt, but he's not like some little like autistic kid who's like, you know what I mean? He's just a normal little kid, but we're not exposing him to a bunch of harmful influences. So they just naturally play with the things that are a part of their memory.
Yeah.
And there was something else. I just want to tell you this with a quick story. I was like thinking about something, and I was laying there in bed with Max, like in Seneca, like maybe like last week or something. And I said to Max, I go, hey, I have something that I think is kind of weird. And I said, what is $1 times $1? And he goes, well, it depends. Are you talking about a dollar as $1 or a dollar in cents?
Oh shit.
And I was like,
shit.
well, what would a dollar in cents be? He goes, $10. And I was like, that was actually what I was gonna explain to him.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was like, he's like, he read my mind. I don't know why he
Holy
thought of it. I was
fuck,
like,
that's amazing.
and I go, why? He goes, because 100 times 100 is 10,000, right? And he says that's $10, right? I think that's right. 10,000. I think that's right. Right.
That is so
but that
cool.
was the point I was gonna make to him, was like, isn't it weird that if you multiply $1 times $1, you get $1, but if you do it in cents, you get $10? I was gonna say, like, isn't that kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
But it was cool because he like saw it immediately, because he likes to play with coins and like number and like stuff like that too. So it's really fascinating. But like when you were a kid, like what were you playing with? I wasn't playing with that stuff. And it's not like he's just naturally playing with it. We're directing it that way. right? And they're not being impulsed by the television and so forth, right? So even if you got them some Barbies or whatever, like we have Connects, we had Legos, we still have some Legos, now we have Connects. They only started playing with them because I sat down and I was like, hey, look what we can make. And we built like a roller coaster, and we built like we built some like we built an egg beater out of the Connects because they have gears and stuff. That's pretty cool. So then they'll like throughout the day, like they'll just play with the Connects and stuff, but they're not doing it because they saw it on an advertisement and then they're like want the ones, the Star Wars ones, you know, or whatever. So yeah.
Oh, just imagine that, right? Imagine the 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds that is like having that level of education like Max, and what they'll be able to do in the next 5,
And so
10
he
years.
doesn't have to sit and watch TV all day.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the
We'll
problem?
be programming what goes on the TVs for everybody.
Right. See, but the on the TVs and or the iPads, Netflix, etc., they're putting all this propaganda into it. So what we're showing also is like you don't have to do all that stuff. The kids are still gonna have fun. They're still gonna, you know, like last night, instead of them watching TV, we watched a clip of Monty Python's Holy Grail. You know, like that scene where it's like Camelot, you know, where like they go and they sing that song and everything. They think it's so funny when they bang on the knight's pot, you know, on their heads with like the spoons and stuff like that. Just little things like that, you know. And then I explain to them why it's funny and we talk about it and everything, right?
Yeah. That's so cool.
So you don't have to just put your kids into the system as is without guiding and directing it.
Mhm.
You know, like that's insane if you're doing that. Plus, you know, like somebody asked me like, what about, you know, like letting your kids like sleep over at other kids' houses or something like that, or whatever. And it's like, absolutely not. You know, because think about it, are they going to be watching TV there? What are those
100%.
kids going to be playing with? Are they going to be on TikTok? What are they going to be talking about?
Yeah.
You know, do you want your children influenced by that stuff? So like,
Mhm.
even when we have kids come, we'll have kids come over to our place, or if we go to someone else's house, one of us is with them. But when we go, when the other kids come over here, we direct the kids. Do you know what I mean? Like if the kids are throwing a tantrum, Katie directs them just like as if they were our kids, you know, and we're supporting them. And it's cool because anytime a kid comes over, the first thing that Max does is like, hey, we should do some techno tutor.
That's awesome.
Right.
That's super cool.
So now the kids that come over have techno tutor, but before they do, he's like wanting them to do techno tutor with them, right?
Wow. And for any of the parents out there that like watch that video or hearing this and you're like, yeah, but I just can't even imagine like asking my son those questions or my kid those questions. It's like that's really what techno tutor is. Yes, it's the technology and the ability to learn in a way you've never really learned before, but also it's the parenting groups, you know, it's the support groups, it's all of that too. Because I mean, I even just notice as Katie's asking those questions and you're asking those questions, Cameron, I'm like, wow, like I have to, you know, I trust myself to be able to do that, but like to direct when our son is here, mathematics, right? You know, we got a few years till that'll be appropriate, but it's like I have no feeling of inferiority towards it, but I've had to build that within myself. So if there's a person who's just seeing this for the first time or just hearing about techno tutor, it's like I see how you could go into a point of inferiority or being like worried. But I know at the end of the day, I can ask a message in the parenting group or I can get on a call with somebody and it's like that's not even going to be an issue. It's just
But think about
how
this,
bad do I
like,
want it for my kids? You know,
even that concern, which I can empathize with, that a parent would have, like we're just talking about fourth grade math.
Yeah.
So imagine a parent, which I know it's going to happen, where they're like, well, I wouldn't be able to. I'm like, wait, so you can't do fourth grade math, but you went to school.
Right.
So if you put your kid in school thinking, I can't do it, I'm not an expert, I don't know, I need to put them in school so they can learn it. You don't know it. You went to school. Is that a good strategy?
No.
Like, I know the cognitive dissonance is going to come up. Why I never use it? This is the point. When you do need it, you can't, because now
Right.
you do need to use it and you can't. Like, it's basic shit. Like those questions that she was asking are actually simple, easy questions. And I know that you're going to give average fourth grader those questions and they're going to like have trouble with it. And that's even after they've already been instructed. Like the putting your child in school, it's like, dude, I saw this post. It was really sad. Some random person on Facebook I don't even know. It's like, you have these people who are your friends are on there. You're like, I don't even know this person.
Right.
But they were like posting a picture of their kid when they were like very small, like I don't even know how old this kid was, 2 years old maybe or something or less. And then like next to that, like now they're like 6 or whatever or 5. And it was like their first day of daycare. And now they've just graduated from daycare and they're doing their first day of kindergarten. And I'm so proud. They're such a big boy now. And I was just like, fuck, man. Like, so I guarantee you this kid is going to go to school now. Does he already know the alphabet? Does he already know the numbers? Can he already read? Can he already talk about fractions? Or is it like, and now we're going to talk about the letters. This
Right.
is A. A is for apple. And you're like, God damn, that kid is behind. And they don't have the bond with their parent. This was the mom posting that. That means the mom wasn't even spending all that time with the kid.
I was
And I
talking
get
with-
it. Like they were probably working. I understand, but there has to be a solution. Go
I
ahead.
was talking with a parent this past week, and they homeschool their kid, and she was saying how she would never put her kid in school. We were talking about education, and she said she would never put her kid in school because the way she looks at school, it's abuse. And I was like, oh, you're cool. And then she's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I have parents who fight me on that, but I'm like, that's what it is. It is abuse. And they'll say, oh, but you know, some parents are just not able to do that. They're not able to stay home with their kids or whatever. It's like, no, that's just your priority. You've made it a priority to do whatever else you got to do and not educate your kid. You're abusing your kid. That's your prerogative. And that's fine. I'm not saying you can't do it, but don't get mad at me.
That's actually a great point. Like when we talk about like Santa Claus, Christmas, and we're like, we don't do that stuff. It's not that we don't celebrate Christmas, but we don't do it in the sense of impulsing all of the points that are typically impulse. Like Santa Claus is not real. Or, I mean, sorry, Santa Claus is real, saying that kind of stuff. Just the whole thing of like where you're literally just misrepresenting it. And then even then we don't do trees presents under the tree. So there's like points that we don't do that we know are specifically impulsing patterns that are not effective. And people would say that we're being abusive. If you think about it, because if I said you shouldn't do that, they would be like, yeah, but the magic and the this and the that. And it's like you just said, you're just prioritizing. Right. Yeah. Robbing their childhood. Right. It's like you're prioritizing your feelings over what actually is the best.
Your feelings of magic. Yeah. Because like the feeling of magic is not for the child. It's the
right, because I talked to the parents. I remember this dad, he said, it's that feeling, you know, I get whenever they come down in the morning and I hear their feet and they're so excited. I'm like, yeah, it's your feeling.
Exactly.
My kids feel equally excited about that as they do like writing their ATVs. Like to them, it's just another day.
Right. Or like picking up the chickens, you know, like it's like, it's so, I think people get kind of carried away because when you are living through this system for a while, you realize all the abuses going on, and people literally live for just the weekend or whatever, right? And so they realize that the moments of like joy for them are few and far between, and they think that's how kids look at things too, but that's not the case. And literally what you're doing is you're creating that pattern within the child by participating in that. And that is also part of the robbing of the innocence of that child, because you're taking away where every moment can be just as enjoyable as the next moment. And you're creating these special instances and making it so that, oh, you must look forward to the future. You must look at the past and just, you know, remember that one thing that happened and that's it. And like, it's really, it is abusive.
It's have you seen, it's like that you know that Pulse series by Bernard, you had brought it up last week, Cameron. They literally talk about that specifically, and then how love is used within all these holidays and events, because it's like impulsing this point of like just generating all this feeling, which then really it's like the grander scheme, it's like you're just creating this love feeling and never an actual living word of love, which then pacifies the human to just never actually stand up in the system, like ever question anything. And you just become a slave to all your emotions and feelings.
Dude, even Memorial Day they use love. Think about it. Because what is Memorial Day supposed to be?
You're supposed
for the
to
veterans
remember
or something.
Celebrating the veterans, right? So it's like you're having that feeling of love and appreciation for them. So that way, when the war points are brought up, it's like you've got this this good feeling, love,
Yeah.
appreciation, like not questioning things because of that.
Yeah.
It's the same point. It's like not questioning the existence of God because you have some feelings of love or something within you.
It's so
But
funny because there's like
go
a statutory holiday like every month. You know what I mean? It's like it falls literally the entire year, month by, whether it be like Mother's Day, Father's Day. Like then there's always like Memorial Day, which is like in a random day where there's not one of those days.
Well,
So it's
think about
like,
it. It's like a pressure release. Like I forget what I was reading, but
No, it's a statutory rape every month.
Damn.
They got to get the energy out of the system. They got to take the energy out.
Well, seriously, it's like 'cause they were giving commentary on Carnival, like in Brazil, for example. The people are so suppressed, so abused, and throughout Latin America, I mean, throughout the world, right? But it's like that leading up to it. Like I lived in Brazil a long time ago for like 6 months, and it was like a month and a half ahead of time. People already starting the block parties and the get-togethers and the whole thing. People already start like taking short weekends and stuff, and then yeah, for a solid week, more like 2 weeks, but really a solid week, it's just sheer everything is shut down. Everything is about that. And it's like this relief of, oh, finally we get to celebrate. And apparently it's like you celebrate before then Holy Week. So you get all your sins out, or some bullshit story. But it's like that, like without that, it would turn into a revolution. But everyone's drunk, having fun on the beach, everyone comes to town, that stimulates the economy. So it's like this point in the system. It's like a pressure release valve is how they equated it, which is pretty fascinating. But it's like, why the fuck do we need that? We don't need that. Every day should just be the equilibrium balance. And you have your time of day where you work and you build and you make things happen. And you'll have your time of day where you're resting for a bit. But it's just natural. It's not a energetic point.
Well, that's the point. It's like it's about maintaining a balance, an equilibrium every day, rather than going like really low and then trying to get really high. And then because like, what does everybody experience after Christmas? Because I used to experience this.
Yeah.
Right. I used to experience that. It would be like the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, then you had to go back to school after winter break. And then you're like, fuck. Because then there's not a break until spring break.
And like
Yeah.
where we were, Mitch, it was so cold. It's like that's when actually the winter season would start. It'd be like the coldest 2 months of the year, and it'd be like so depressing.
Yeah.
Like why should life be like that
system?
Why should life be like that? Yeah, exactly. It's a fucked system. Like imagine if instead of there being schools, you learned all the basics you need by the time you were 7 years old, before you would even be school age. Then you have places that are set up within the community to facilitate children being together, working on projects. Imagine like having laboratories that are designed with children in mind for them to be able to get together. And there's like someone who's directing it as like a supervisor or like an adult. Like imagine an adult scientist who's like wanting to do some kind of cool experiments, like build a robot, like they're actually like your normal scientists in the world. But then you have like 12-year-olds who are there and it's all supervised. So there's no abuse allowed, but they're there and working on it and learning.
Yeah.
Because you might think, oh, you're just going to like let all these kids be around these adults. And it's like, that's what a school is. And how much abuse goes in there?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of abuse.
Yeah.
Jess and I were talking
Did you hear
about
these have we talked about this before where there's like they go to these school, there was this thing, I don't know if we talked about it. There was this school and then like they found like out in this one particular field behind the school, like all these like used condoms and all this stuff. And there was like all this abuse going. It was like one of those, I think it was one of those like schools for like, bad kids or whatever, like remedial schools or whatever. Right. And it was like, and they were just talking about all the stuff that actually goes on in these schools.
Wow.
And like the abuse that occurs. It's like, it's insane. Plus you have all the bullying and all that stuff, but it's not directed. It's all just trying to force kids through like this, it's like, it's like, Katie makes her own pasta now. And so she has this thing called an extruder, and you like push the dough through it and then it comes out like in a certain shape,
Yeah.
That's like what school is. It's just like pushing you through this thing, and then you come out and you're like this particular thing, but you think that you have an education when in reality, you're just afraid to make mistakes. You think you know a lot of stuff when you don't, because you spent 12 years doing it. You must have learned something. And then, it's like, you think that just going through something and getting to the end means that you know something. So you think that of other people. So you assume that these scientists, well, they're scientists. It's like, didn't you go to school? Do you remember what it was like? They went to school too. They're the same as you. They just had within them that point of like, I want to do something that seems, what's the word? Like why does a person want to become a doctor?
Because
feel
they
important.
wanna
Usually it's about the
save
money.
people's lives.
Yeah.
Okay, money, but
feel
what else?
important.
Money, I feel important. Like, and that, you know, like
Status, sense of
the
status.
Other
think
people
that's
look
the
at them
status,
like,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly.
That's why most people go into science. It's the same shit. It's a little bit better secure income, generally speaking, higher esteem and so forth, right? But they're not like special people. They're not smarter people. They just at some point had the ability to get the vocabulary required to be able to pass the science classes. But then when you look at the average scientist, they're just fucking working in a lab running the experiments. They're not like Charles Darwin, like fucking on an island, like all by themselves, like sketching drawings of finches and like coming up with theories and shit. They're just running experiments for the fucking big pharma companies.
Right.
That's all they're doing. And then the conclusions of which they are not even in control of. There's like the guy who's running the experiment who has it's like, hey, we need to show the effectiveness of this vaccine. So go and run the experiments. Don't worry. We'll do the numbers. We'll write it up. We'll figure out how to like adjust things so that it gives us the result we want. But they just need a factory where they can go and send an experiment to and get the work done.
It's really interesting because, you know, from that perspective, it's like Charles Darwin was already, his family was pretty wealthy already. And so that's why he had the time to be able to go to this island, Galapagos Islands, and like do
right. And that's what I'm saying. Science should only be done by the
Yeah.
extreme elite, right?
Exactly. I'm glad we're on the same page with this.
Okay, cool.
But literally, it's just the extremely wealthy are the ones who are doing science, and they hire these people who are made to look like they can do science, and they fund them. Exactly what you're saying, right?
They're just workers.
But they're just workers. Exactly. They're just like, you're part of my giant corporate arm. And I need
it's
to
like when I
articulate
write
this
the what's it called, the procedures, and it says mix sodium hydroxide with whatever, like I know you'll be able to process that and you won't fuck it up too much.
Exactly.
They're not expecting you to be creative.
Right.
That's why like that book, Creative Mathematics, would never be taught in schools. They're not trying to create creative people in schools.
Right.
That's not the point of it.
Right.
Yeah. So when they make up the fucking 8th booster, they know these people will be able to get it out to the market.
They'll be able to count it and go, here you go. I can count to 8. We should take 8 boosters. It's really interesting because, you know, in consideration with everything that we've talked about today, with the Operation Mockingbird, with the news media echoing these same things, right? And you get the same thing in your schools. You get the same thing from your parents. It's like, what people don't realize is the way that the media, or the elite rather, look at the average person, or the human body rather, is like an echo chamber. And if you impulse enough things, or shout enough things, or say things enough times, and in the right frequencies, in the right times, meaning especially when they're really young, then you can create this echo throughout the human body. And that echo becomes the thoughts, and those thoughts become what runs the person. And so that's why people will do things and they don't even know why they're doing them. Like, I don't know, I just do this thing. It's like, I don't know, I have these thoughts. They just come to me. It's whatever. It's like, no, that's specifically been placed into you. Look at it from the perspective of the tradition of Christmas. It's been echoed into you over and over and over and over again, with a lot of emotion, a lot of energy, and to the point where you turn around and you say, I want to do this to my children. And so you echo it into them as well. And what you're not realizing is you're just echoing the system over and over. You are a mockingbird. You're just an imitation of a human being. You are not real. You're not being real. You are not directing yourself. That's what this system is. That's what is the system. You are basically allowing yourself to be the system. It is a part of you. And so in order to actually find out, like, okay, well, like if we want to challenge the system, change the system to a new one, to one that's actually here to support life rather than just take and be just for the profit of a very few. And you're not even part of that few. It doesn't benefit you at all, right? In order to actually change that, you're going to have to let go of everything that you identify with as far as what is the system that you believe is you. You have to realize, you look at the internet and you say, okay, potentially 50% of the internet is fake bots. But you've believed this entire time that it's everybody is on the internet. All these people are real. All these opinions are valid. No corporation is on there trying to persuade you to do anything. You have to realize you didn't know that, or you were naive, or however you need to rationalize it. But the reality is that's not real. It's time to come back to reality. The system that you are promoting within yourself, the way that you think, is not real. But you've allowed it. You believed it to be you. It's time to stop that and come back to reality and find out what is real. And you can do that by getting TechnoTutor, investigating, Destiny, read Creation's Journey to Life, read Heaven's Journey to Life, listen to Equaf, and find out, do the DIP process. I'm not leaving that out. Like, that is very crucially important, but find out what is actually going on within you, what you've accepted and allowed. Because if you're looking at this world and you can see for yourself that some of these things do not add up, and this is not the direction that you want to go, you did not have the life that you wanted to have, and you want to change things, just arbitrarily saying, I'm going to do it my way and things are going to change, is not going to work. You have to find out, you have to go back to what is reality and find out what's real and what's not, and start from there. And then you also have to see for yourself that you're not going to continue to promote what's not real, what's fake, that harms other people, because that's what was done to you. And if you continue to do that, that's bullshit. You're fucking yourself over, and you're fucking everyone else over. So if you can hear what I'm saying right now, there may be a little spark in you left that you might be real, but you're going to have to prove it. You can't just sit here and listen to what I'm saying and say, I'm real. You're going to have to prove it. Which means if you don't have TechnoTutor yet, what the fuck are you waiting for? Seriously. Right? And if you haven't started this process, it's time to begin. So if you're in the group, which most people who listen to this, you're in the group, right? In self-perfected group. We have all the resources there. Reach out to one of the admins in the group. Reach out to myself, reach out to Mitch, right? And just say, hey, I'm ready to take the next step. Because it's time that we all work together so that we can change this, not only for ourselves, but for the future children that are coming into this world. Because if we don't, we already know what's waiting for them. If we continue down this path, they're going to get jabbed up. They're going to be growing up very sickly, very confused, lied to in every angle. But we can change that for them. We can change that for the future generations. We can change that for ourselves. It's time to get that done.
Well said. Yeah. And if you're not systematically sharing this with other people too, get on that, right? Time to share. Not enough to keep it to yourself.
Right. By the way, if you are also a part of the group and you want to make some money without abusing people, right? With the starting point of actually making a difference in this world, but also make a lot of money, we have the way to do that. So if you're interested in that at all, if all the other stuff was like, that sounds nice, but I got to make some money, we have the way to do that too. So definitely reach out so that we can all do this together. We can become the new elite. We can be the ones who are super wealthy, who can make the decisions together instead of waiting on what's coming out of Davos and the World Economic Forum and all these guys. We could be the ones to say, hey, you know what? You know what would actually be best? If we take care of the children, if we make sure everybody's fed, if we make sure that everyone has their needs met. We're not forcing interventions on people, medical interventions on people that they don't need. That's only going to cause problems within their bodies. For profit, we won't need to do that, right? So hey, join us. Did you want to add anything?
No, nope. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
See you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.